of the Louisa County Board of Supervisors to order. Under informational items today is a discussion with VDOT on our secondary six-year plan, and I know we have Mr. Scott Thornton, the resident engineer. Mr. Thornton?
Mr. Chairman, board members, and administrator, how are y'all today?
Good.
So this will be quick. Christian, I don't know if I gave you
We like quick.
We've
I
got
like
spreadsheets.
Oh,
I think
look at
everybody
us.
has.
Says draft
draft. Yes.
All
We're
right.
here to talk about the draft
in
six-year plan.
red. In red, sir.
So, from FY25 to FY29 is the same as last year and what was approved. None of that's changed. In FY 2030, your telefee amount is still $99,446. The district grant unpaved has been reduced slightly from $156,830 to $118,268.
Is that projected, Scott? How's that work?
Yes, it's a projected amount.
And then they just firm it up when they actually get to that budget year?
And a lot of that has to do with the amount of qualifying unpaved roads in the county.
Because ours is going down?
Because yours is going down, your allocation will.
I could build a couple more.
We'll go down.
Qualify, maybe. Add a couple gravel roads on the farm would like to get paved. How about that?
So, one of the things in here that we had discussed last year, but we haven't done it yet, is Midway Lane was one Mr. Barnes had wanted and requested be removed from the plan.
Because they didn't want it paved.
They did not want it paved.
I remember that.
It's still showing in the plan.
What year is that on?
It is fully funded in 2029,
So
28,
it's near the end
29.
of the list.
So it is at the end of the list. We left it in the plan and we added New Anna Road, that's Route 755, and put the district grant unpaved funds in there. So it still shows a balance to complete, which will be in the 30-31 fiscal year. And then
So that's gonna kick, when that $90-some thousand, $96,000, that's gonna kick some stuff up.
the 99,446 we put in the rural additions balance entry account. That's the telefee funds. So we just basically programmed in all of the district grant unpaved into rural rustic projects and then put the telefee amounts in the rural addition balance entry. We did go through and revise all of the estimates to adjust for inflation for this year as well as the out years. So if you look at last year's plan versus this year's plan, some of the estimates did go up just slightly to account for the inflation adjustments. But New Anna Road is the road that we added. That is a total cost, PE of $9,000, construction $305,000, for a total of $314,900. Total length of that road is 3/4 of a mile, and that starts at 522 and runs through the end of state maintenance.
Where is New Anna Road? Why am I having a hard time?
It's off of 522.
Next to the last page.
Huh?
Next to, no, didn't you say what page are we on?
No, where in the county? We're
Oh,
on
oh,
It's
oh.
522.
like,
okay.
it's
Right
like.
Before you get to Apple Grove,
Yeah.
there's a church. Well, Steve Harris is on the left.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Right
yeah.
there,
Okay,
turns
Okay,
off.
gotcha.
Oh.
All right.
It's a 522 down that way.
Yeah.
Down, okay.
New
I
Anna
really
Lane.
did think you said what page are we on.
I thought you were being
No,
sarcastic.
no, I wasn't, I wasn't.
Nothing unusual.
So
Hold
the
on a
reason-
minute, Scott, I've got to.
The reason we picked New Anna is we needed to program in some funds. We'd been adding money to the balance entry accounts for a while, and the ask from central office from the district was to add a project to show that we were programming stuff and we weren't just putting it into balance entry. So we did talk with staff. New Anna Road was picked because it's a fairly easy project to do. It does program some of the funds, it doesn't program all of it. But at the end of the day, Louisa County has 7 roads that qualify that aren't already in the plan or are not in historic Green Springs District, which we're not paving those roads. So there's not a whole lot of location left So we really would like to get this one added, get this thing done and get it off the list.
Do you need a resolution from the board?
So what I would need today is, if you're good with this, an authorization to advertise for a public hearing. And then in 30 days, I'll be back for a resolution, or the public hearing, and then a resolution to support the.
Any objection?
I just have a question. On 617, did you recalculate we were gonna shorten that a little bit?
Yes, that has been shortened in the plan.
Okay, so
So
it'll
that's-
stop before the Chisholm's home?
So all that's been done. The only thing, that project is fully funded this year, but the one thing I would need is a rural rustic resolution for West Green Springs Road. So I don't have that yet.
Okay, so
But-
you'll come back before you
But I'll come
pave
back for that before we do that. But
Okay.
yes, that distance is correct.
When's Coleman's Lane scheduled to be
That
done?
sounds like a plan.
Holman's Lane this spring.
Okay.
They've done
You've
a
done
lot.
the base work on it. I saw that.
We've got 3 rural rustics in the residency, 2 in Louisa County, 1 in Orange. We're just trying to get all of them shot at the same time.
Okay. So, and you've got that still on there because it's technically not finished yet.
Yes, that's correct.
So is that the only one in Green Springs on this, that I can see?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman.
I'm good.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Scott, I should have told you I might ask this before now, but we had talked, I think, late last year about CSOI funds. Is there a potential to add that funding in instead of picking special projects? I think we put that out to the board for input. I don't know that we've had any final decisions yet, but is there a possibility to use that funding in the 6-year plan to do more with rural unpaved or something like that if we wanted to, or maybe not?
That's really not the intent of that funding program. So the short answer is no. But I would be more than willing to meet with anybody to talk about potential CSOI projects.
Okay.
The balance of CSOI for this year is currently spent down. We had some pretty significant pipe failures and pipe replacements, 661, 635, that between maintenance funds and CSOI basically chewed up
Okay.
everything we had for those failures. So,
For fiscal '24?
so next
So it
fiscal year,
Resets July 1?
July 1, yes,
And
sir.
what's the total annually, just ballpark?
About 75,000.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Williams.
Is 661 back open?
661 will be open in 2 weeks. We're waiting on guardrail install.
Guardrail, that's where you're, okay.
Yes. It's been repaved, everything else is done.
go ahead.
I can't remember what's, go ahead.
Mr. Barnes?
Okay, you good, Tom?
Yeah. he-
Okay. How you doing?
Doing all right.
I'm not bringing it up as a new project, I don't know, but, Ferncliff, at the intersection of 659 and 250, 208 and 250, I'm old guys, we still call it 659.
I remember.
But,
side it is.
yeah.
Turn it the old oak tree.
But what's the chance of getting some rumble strips right there until we can do better? It's a pretty busy
I
intersection.
can ask a question.
Can you please?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd just like to know what's the chance of getting some rumble strips right there.
Speaking of that, when you're done, I have one.
I'm done.
There's an intersection of Columbia and Zion Road, and there's a home right at the end of that intersection if you're coming off Columbia, and you would go straight into their yard. And about 3 times a year, it just happened last week over spring break, we went and helped them pull their shrubs out. Somebody overshoots coming off Columbia, and will go straight across Zion and go right into their yard, tears their yard up, takes trees, takes shrubs out. It's a good fair amount of time. It's been going on for years, but they have a young family. She's a teacher and all now, and they're just concerned. So I told them I'd speak to you about if there's anything we can do as you're approaching the Zion Road intersection there with the stop sign, to warn people that it happens at nighttime.
We don't have the blinking stop signs out there, do we?
No, there's no blinking stop sign. Country road, but it's used more and more now with a lot more traffic than ever with all the neighborhoods and stuff. But it's happening consistently, and I wouldn't like people overshooting and landing in my yard either on a regular basis. Thank you.
Mr. Williams?
Just a question, curiosity. I noticed a new piece of equipment running around the district. It looks interesting. It's a ditching dump truck.
Yep,
Yeah, is that new to the area?
it is new to this district, yes.
Yeah. How many we got in the district?
So I'm the only residency that's contracted it. It's with DMI out of Hampton Roads.
Oh, you contract.
It is a contractor, yes.
That's not our dump truck.
That is not.
Why do we own one
Well, VDOT does own one. VDOT owns 4
in the whole state?
in the whole state.
It doesn't
And
seem reasonable.
we have contracted, Louisa Residency's contract, or Culpeper District is contracted to purchase 1 or maybe 2.
Oh,
But
good.
it'll be in 2026 delivery.
Well, it's
So-
interesting. It's a little wheel that
Does a
just
good job.
spins, cuts a nice little ditch like this, runs it on the conveyor, puts it back in the truck. And dump truck, it is neat. They've been using it around our district here the past couple weeks and it looks nice, so
Yeah.
it's good. I'm just curious.
Yep.
Mr. Chair.
We got one coming though.
One comment, yes.
That's right.
Mr. Thornton. I had asked for Thurston Road. It had come up that it was a road that was being considered. That just didn't make it into this plan, or?
Yes, that is correct. We can look at adding it next year, because this is in the out years, so, we can put it below New Anna
Okay.
in the next plan. But we have used up and programmed all of the funding for the FY 2020.
Okay. All right.
Which road is
Appreciate
that, did you say?
Thurston.
Thurston Road.
It's off of Oakland Road.
I got a comment, but let's go back to New Anna Road. You need a direction from this board to advertise a public hearing?
Public hearing.
Does anybody have any objection? All right, you've got authorization from the board. We're recorded, right? Are we being, okay, so I don't think we can vote in this workshop because we're not in a meeting.
I think you can. We don't have Dale here, but it's an advertised
All right,
meeting of the
I
board.
move we add
All right,
Yeah.
to the agenda for a public hearing. How about that?
Second.
second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? There, you got it.
We voted
You got it
legally,
twice.
just retract it and do it anyway.
Don't forget it, son.
You got it.
So, anybody else have any
Check
questions
the
for
box.
Mr. Thornton? I've got, not specifically this, but since I have you here.
That doesn't feel
Um,
good.
And you and I have, we've talked about Aaron's Way being brought into the state system. There was a
Yes.
couple requests from citizens over there. After I forwarded on and gave them the information that you had given, I've gotten some correspondence back with some questions. I'm just going to forward that to you. Would you mind communicating directly with them?
Sure.
Versus through me? That would probably be,
That'd
I'll
be
just forward you over 2 emails, and if you could copy me on the correspondence, just so I'm kind of kept in the loop, I'd appreciate it. All right, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
are we to the point where we can kind of discuss stuff that's?
I think we are.
Okay. And I'll ask Mr. Thornton this. He and I were both in a meeting with the town of Louisa week before last.
Yeah.
Scott. And I had not heard anything about this, so if he would, I would like if he would explain kind of what's going on with the town of Louisa and Main Street, and specifically the intersection at 33 and 22.
So, sure. So one of the things we are looking at is, we have a consultant and we're looking at the corridor going through town. And they're evaluating all the signalized intersections as well as looking at potentially what a roundabout would look like at the intersection right there in front of the Walgreens, BP, Hardee's intersection. If we were to do something like that, it would be based on the results of the study that ATCS is doing now to see if it would qualify for something like HSIP funding. But of course, that would be related to the benefit cost for such a project. They've looked at it in the past. Benefit cost wasn't there. So they're looking at it again, just basically to address the congestion going through town. So,
I know that isn't a specific thing that we would do, but I think all of us have experienced the problems at that intersection and the intersection at Sheets. And I think y'all are trying to do something about working out signals so that that will help maybe at the
that's
Sheets
the,
location.
yes, that's the signal coordination. All these requests had been originated through the town of Louisa They had done a study back in maybe 2019, 2018, and just kind of wanted to see what kind of projects we could do to improve that corridor. So that's what we're working on there.
Thank you.
Mr. Joe?
Back to Green Springs. Just circling back, there's two intersections that I do get a lot of calls on and questions on, and they're on 15, and then one, I believe, Mr. Kuna and myself have talked to you about, the Walmart truck traffic coming in and out of Zion, and trucks backing up and pulling out in front of cars, and that continues to be an issue coming out of the distribution center. The other one, although I don't believe there is a high rate of accidents at the intersection, but the other intersection I get are Spring Creek residents who would like to see a light at the exit of Spring Creek, the main entrance.
A light at the exit of Spring Creek?
Yeah, or something in that nature. I've explained to them in the future, there is a roundabout in the plans when you look at the future plans and so forth. So I do explain that to them, but I just wanted to bring that message forward, that I continue to get.
So the Walmart entrance
Messages.
is going to be slotted to be improved with the 15 pilot project.
I was thinking so.
Yes.
So
That will be an improvement. We're going to add no parking signs. We're going to remove that shoulder, put up no park, basically so vehicles can't
park.
They won't be able to park there.
That's good, because they really back up.
It's going to be a lot of no parking signs put up, and then we're going to address the pavement going into or coming out of Liberty Trail. So they're going to go in and do a patch of that in the next couple months, and then when the project takes over, the rest of once the project's done, it'll be restriped, and all the no parking signs and everything will be up.
Do you
So,
think it'll help with the flow of the trucks coming in and out a little bit better?
I would hope it
You would
it
hope it
will,
does?
but I mean,
Okay.
that's the first step, is to
Yeah.
see what that does, and then
I like that.
make an iterative approach beyond that.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Anybody else have anything for Mr. Thornton?
We certainly have information discussion item on the smart scale. You want to not come back tonight?
I have Mr. Proctor here for that, and I will.
I can answer pretty much anything you want to know about it.
Mr. Proctor?
I put together a presentation on Smart Scale. I'm Chuck Proctor, I'm the district planning manager, and I'm the coordinator for Smart Scale for the district, so. I think my slides are here. All right, cool. See if I can get this thing to work. I got it.
Look at that.
All right, basically, just a
The menu.
quick overview.
It's like a menu.
Yeah.
It's like we're having dinner here.
So these are all the funding,
I love
various
it.
funding programs we have. Smart Scale just happens to be the biggest one and where we fund most of our major projects. But these are some of the other ones. I know Scott mentioned SJR, but we have revenue shared, TAP, and recreational access. I know you guys are, also have some projects in economic development access, so. Those are the various funding programs we have throughout the cycle, and basically we have even and odd year cycle. We're in the even year cycle this time, for Smart Scale. And HSIP will be later on this year. And then next year would be TAP and revenue share.
That's really convoluted. You'd have to spend a long time to
I know.
actually understand what's going on.
There's a
there.
lot of, and this is just the dates for, basically, Smart Scale, we have our
It shouldn't be that hard.
submission process, which
That
is.
is crazy.
Now, yeah, it is kind of crazy. We start in the fall, and I'll go through that, Smart Scale particularly. Basically, this is the overview of Smart Scale. I'll get back to the Smart Scale and schedule in a minute. Basically, it's our major funding program where localities can submit projects for funding. And regional bodies. To be eligible, you got to meet a V-Trans need. For this county, the only needs you're eligible for are corridors of statewide significance, which is basically 64 and 250. If you have a need on those corridors, those would be eligible. And then the other ones would be safety. So if you have a high crash location, those would be eligible.
So, let me ask you a question.
Yes,
You said Louisa County is only eligible to submit 4 applications per cycle,
correct.
which it seems to me this whole program's geared towards Northern Virginia and Tidewater.
Does it?
But
Does it seem like that?
it does seem like that.
It's been like that since the beginning, when it was first created. It's been
They probably have
4
more legislators than we do.
and 10.
Yeah, I think so.
So
But I saw, can you go back about 3 slides?
sure.
The one before, yeah, I think one before that. So I see like
Menu.
airport access program, to improve access to existing public use airport or to establish da-da-da-da-da. So, you know, we always hear about safety and fatalities and, you know, all that sort of thing as qualifications. But maybe that's always been there. That's the first time I've seen it. But, you know, the county now is managing the airport, not the IDA. So there would be a possibility to look at improvements to that intersection, to that roadway.
We'll have to look at it. I mean, I don't coordinate those
That's
directly.
a no. That's
So
a
I'm
no.
not saying no. It's sort of like the economic development. It's through a different group manages that program
Okay.
directly. So, but we could look into that if you have something specifically you want us to look at.
Okay. Well, it's the first time I've seen it, this airport access program
Because I
show
know
up.
that you guys, I reviewed the expansion plans, and they want to put the development the other side of the runways and put an access out on Schoolhouse Road. So I remember, I've seen all that stuff before. So if you want to come in with something along those lines for that type of facility, you could get assistance.
Okay. Yep, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
in my time on the planning commission, seems like I remember a lady coming before us, who I think was with the Thomas Jefferson Planning District and maybe Naz with y'all in Culpeper.
Sandy,
I think maybe Sandy's
Yeah.
the one who said this, that with smart scale, it can also, it doesn't necessarily for a rural county like Louisa to be all about severe accidents. It can also have something to do if we're eligible to put up or make it improve our eligibility if we're able to put up money.
correct.
Okay.
I mean, basically, smart scale, similar to HSIP and what Scott was talking about, it's basically cost benefit. We'll score your application on for what you want to do, what improvements you want to make, and then we'll basically divide it by the cost of the project. If the cost gets lower, the benefit goes up.
Right.
I mean, some rounds, I knew Albemarle County and the city of Charlottesville have got a lot of their projects funded because they buy down their project. One round, Albemarle got all their project funded. They put like $7 million towards their projects, and they got them all funded. It just depends on the project and what the benefit score is.
It moves you higher up the list.
Moves you
the more
higher up the list, because you're basically reducing that denominator.
So what's the sweet spot? So
Uh,
is there a
90-10.
percentage?
There
Yeah,
isn't-
90-10, I'm
There
sure,
isn't
yeah.
necessarily a
sweet there.
sweet spot. It just depends on what round it is and the group of projects that are part of the pool, because it changes every round. So I can't tell you a definite number, but anything that you provide would help reduce reduce the cost, which will raise the benefit score.
But then again, we're competing against every locality in the state, correct?
No. You're competing against the other localities in the district,
Okay.
which this round, Charlottesville's not submitting any applications. Albemarle and the MPO are submitting 4, I think 3. MPO is submitting 3 and Albemarle County is submitting 4. Most of the other localities are submitting 1 or 2 applications. I think the town of Culpeper is submitting 4,
How many we submitted?
3.
We will get all 3?
It's probably a good across the board because of the changes they made between last round and this round in the scoring methodology.
What 3 are we submitting?
250 and 15, 22 and 15, and 208 and 250.
Okay.
So those are the ones. They're all resubmissions, 22,
Fern Cliff, Zions, and what was the other ones? Boswell's Tavern.
22 Boyd's Tavern,
Boswell's Tavern.
Boswell Tavern, yeah.
So, okay.
So they're all good safety locations. I think 208 was one of the ones that didn't score as well in the rankings from PSI.
So right now, we're putting no money in?
No money in.
So if we put like $100 in, they get a name in the pot? Hey, you gotta play the game, game the system. Will that trigger something, say we're submitting something to it?
Nobody's actually putting in any funding towards any of their applications this round. So,
Is it too late to do that?
No. I just need to know so I can put it on the application to give you guys.
How much are those projects?
I don't know yet. We're
Do you
working
just
on
get
these.
points, do you get points because you gave some funding? Or do you get points based on the percentage of the funding you're giving?
It's just a straight score. They'll take it off the cost of the project, and then it's gonna up your benefit score. Because it's basically the benefit of your project divided by the cost.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So the more money you add to the project, the lower the cost gets. So it's gonna make the benefit go up.
Yeah, $100 not gonna help.
How do our projects look right now?
I haven't looked yet.
Woody.
I'm looking, but I haven't gotten to the
That's
point
a
where I have
no.
numbers to look at.
That's a no.
That's a no. Well, it'd be nice if we had an economic
Missions.
development
I can
opportunity
tell
that was
you
gonna dump millions of dollars in the
208 and
county budget.
250, the crashes aren't as high. It's like ranked 98 in the district from a PSI standpoint, so it's probably not going to score very well because it doesn't have enough safety benefit.
Which one?
208 and 250. Both 22 and 15 and 15 and 250, they're basically in the low 40s, 48 and 42, I think, or 45 and 42, I think, ranking. I can show you that too. I've got those slides here.
We need a couple very low impact accidents at Ferncliff.
We getting them bars. We getting them.
Can you get them? Like somebody scratched something or dented
So,
my bumper?
Like I said,
Scott's
once we
going
get
up.
further along, I may know more before we get to the submission date, but right now I can't tell you for sure.
What are our deadlines?
We had the pre-app submission, which was April 1st, and then the final submission is August 1st. And I will have the final concepts and the cost estimates before then for you guys to look at and review.
And what are they? They're all roundabouts, all three of them?
Correct, all three are roundabouts.
About what are they? Are they $10 million, $5 million, $2 million?
No, they're like $15 million.
Each roundabout's $15 million.
About
What's the one up at Dickinson's costing? How much are we pissing away on that?
I don't remember off the top of my head, I have to
Yes,
look.
4 million, 10 million?
I think it was 7 or 8 million.
It's 7 million.
I gotta take up road contracting, because you know what, move a little dirt, dump a little gravel, smear some asphalt on the ground, don't look that hard.
Something like that be cheaper than that.
Okay, you guys want to keep going through?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're looking to finish.
4 applications, like I said, mainly safety. You guys aren't eligible for regional network because of the rule, you're not in a regional network around an MBO area, so you're not qualified. UDA is the one area you could become eligible for if you wanted to add the code reference to your comp plan.
Development area?
And that would mean you could do submit other projects other than safety as smart scale applications.
Mr. Chair, could
Yes.
One question before you get off UDAs. I think we've talked about UDAs in the
Correct.
past, and I know we've got some newer faces of the day since then. You mentioned it being in the comp plan. Is there also a code requirement?
There's a code reference you have to add to your comp plan,
Just to the comp plan.
just to the comp plan.
So it's a planning,
Yes,
not a requirement.
not a requirement. I mean, the code has requirements, well, has guidelines on density requirements, but you don't have to enforce those. They're just like goals you want to try to achieve. Basically, what you want to try to do is focus your growth in designated areas, and as part of the UDA, you're designating where those areas are.
Okay.
And that's how those work.
Okay.
So, I mean, you could basically make your current growth areas UDA areas, and that means you could submit other projects within those areas.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, here's the smart scale schedule. Like I said, August 1st, that big orange box is the deadline. We're in the review process right now. We're reviewing the applications for pre-screening to make sure they're eligible. We're not gonna have any problems there. Ours are all, we're doing them all across the district, so all ours are pretty much eligible. And this gets into some of what we try to do is make sure that we get with you guys and you guys let us know beforehand. So we have enough time to do any studies, coordinate all that work with you all early in the year, so we have time enough to make sure we have good qualified applicants by the time we get to the submission period. So that's typically what we do is we'll present you with the safety data in October, and then identify the projects you guys want to pursue, and then we'll work with you on getting those applications pulled together so you guys can submit them in March and August timeframes. Any questions about that? All right.
No.
And then, like I said, the V-Trans needs, right now, we're using the 24 needs. The 2022 needs, but they were adopted in 2024 for the state. But it's based on the 2018 to 2022 PSI data, which is your potential for safety improvement. And I have that data, you can see.
Mr. Chairman, one more question.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Mr. Goodwin.
Did the General Assembly not update the requirements for smart scale this year, or not the General Assembly, the state not update the requirements for smart scale this year in that they're allowing a higher reliance on the use of forecasting for future traffic needs for smart scale applications now,
They-
more reliance on that than there had been in the past?
Before, originally, in the first two rounds, we used a 10-year forecast. After that, they went current year forecast. In this round of Smart Scale, they adopted to use a 7-year forecast for traffic volumes to do the analysis. Basically, when they do their congestion analysis, they'll use a forecasted year and 7 years into the future to come up with traffic data to do the analysis to see what the impacts are. And that's what they adopted in December meeting. So they were going back and forth. We do forecasts for every analysis we do. We'll do a future for the project just to see, make sure that we're going to meet the federal requirements, which are, we got to basically have something that's going to operate 20 years in the future. So we look at a 20-year forecast anyway. But this is, for the proposed requirements are, they wanted to go with 7 years. And the reason for that was there were some issues up in Northern Virginia where they had all these data centers that came in, and they had originally forecasted all this traffic, and then the data centers came in and they didn't see the traffic that they had forecasted. So they wanted to pull that back from a 10-year. So that's where they came. I mean, I think it's good to have a future forecast, but it pretty much goes across the board. It actually helps the urbanized areas because they have so much more congestion than we have.
Okay,
So it will definitely benefit them more than it will us.
great point.
So,
Correct.
before you move on, I want to make sure I heard what you just said. So localities in Northern Virginia had expected a much higher traffic impact from some data centers that were built there, and they didn't see that. Isn't that what you just said?
They basically were planning this additional density, and then it didn't happen. So they had forecasted and got these projects funded on basically the 28 corridor, and they didn't get the density because they came in with data centers instead of what they originally was proposed for those corridors. So they didn't get the density, so they got these improvements, which I drive that every day, so it's congested.
Right.
So,
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Go back to Planning Commission days, and Mr. Gillespie can probably maybe help us with this. In trying to get background things and all about the 208 corridor, was that New Bridge Road? Is that 208 to the bridge?
yeah.
New Bridge Road, we found out it seems like to me it was a telecommute thing or whatever. The person was up on the screen from VDOT talking to us, and they have all the engineering that was done back whenever, 10, 12 plus years ago,
Yeah.
is all there, probably would need to be updated. But we never, at the Planning Commission, member through December, ever got any traction on trying to do any of that. And I don't know how other folks feel, but if we don't get a handle on that pretty soon and have some plans, it's going to get away from us, just like what, in my opinion, Zion Crossroads has done, as far as planning for roads with the growth and trying to at least stay a step ahead of it.
It's,
I have a note. I was going to get to that, so
Okay.
I agree. Let me follow up with
Okay,
Mr.
go
Woodward.
ahead.
Then you can address the question, I guess. So if you look at the 208 corridor from Ware's Crossroads to the lake, that's a designated growth area in the county.
yes.
We know that Cut Along, which is now starting to get into process where they're actually building houses in their clubhouse.
They've been stagnating for a
Yeah,
long
but they're not stagnant anymore. They're under new ownership and they're ready to go. So you've got pre-approved, far predates me on the board, 800 units there. You have the Lake Anna Resort that has been approved. If you look from Ware's Crossroads to the bridge, every piece of property that doesn't have something on it right now is zone commercial. We have a new wastewater treatment facility that's getting ready to be upgraded. So, and we've designated that as a growth area. And it's basically just a paved wagon path that was there in the 1800s.
Yeah.
So I had a note here, I was going to bring it up. We have the data centers being built on Kentucky Springs Road, which to your point, don't drive a tremendous number of vehicle traffic per day once they're complete, but you're going to have construction traffic.
Yeah.
And that's a dangerous area. I think probably one of the most dangerous intersections after Ware's Crossroads in the Mineral District is 652 and 208, Kentucky Springs Road. And with the summer traffic, with the Food Line traffic, I never turn on that road to go to Food Line. I go down and take the entrance. So anyway, it's a big concern. It's been a concern. We've had fatalities there.
I know the county's looked at that a couple of times. We've submitted multiple applications over the years, smart scale for that corridor. It just doesn't, the cost benefit is just really bad. So, I mean, we could relook at that again. I mean, you had a gold plan and you had a regular plan. Then we did the 652 intersection. We did the roundabout at the corner store. So we have looked at some of that. It's just that if the county wants to relook at it again, we can relook at it again. I mean, we got, I forget the consultant that did the study, but there's several plans. We actually had a plan for the whole corridor before where we were going to 4-lane it. And it's just coming up with the funding to do it is a different story. It's
Well,
gonna
I
have to
think when I
compete.
first got on the board that there was it had been submitted, the whole quarter. To
Yes.
your point, the expense, so then it, if I remember right, Mr. Goodwin, then it was broken up into 2 or 3 different sections.
Correct.
But we never got any traction with Smart Scale then either. But,
Yeah.
To Mr. Woodward's point, if we wait 10 years to start to address it,
Well,
that ship's already left us,
The thing about it is, even if we get something funded now, you're not going to see construction for 10 years.
But if we don't
And
look.
that's part of the thing.
That is part of the
issue.
problem, but if we don't look for 10 years, you're not going to get any construction for 20 years.
Yep, that's true.
Well, like I said, we've got a lot of studies that we've done, and those are still good plans to try to address the problems. Mainly, from what I recall, the section from 652 East is the more higher crash location as opposed to the section to the west. And I think that's why we ended up splitting it up, because we felt that that section to the east was the better, more competitive portion of the corridor to address, as well as the intersection at 652. When we get to the safety data, we can look at it, but I don't think it's very high on the list from a crash data standpoint. So basically, where you're getting your points is, how many crashes are you resolving with that study, or with that improvement? And that's where you're going to get your points from. You
But
will
the-
get some from congestion, but not as much as from safety.
So that's what I was just going to ask about the congestion. So I've seen traffic at Ware's Crossroads backed up in the summertime, and I get it, the roundabout's going to address that. But I've seen it backed up for a mile and a half in the summertime. So once they get to Ware's Crossroads, right, they move through because you don't have that stop. But it still doesn't relieve the congestion that's on the road that's coming from the bridge to,
Correct.
coming to the lake from Fredericksburg and Spotsylvania. You have a 4-lane road that then drops back down to a 2-lane road.
Correct.
But in the summertime, your 4-lane road's full.
Yeah.
And then you're just dumping them back into a 2-lane road.
I understand that. I mean, we look at a sensitivity analysis when we do the forecast to see what the capacity of the road is, and I think we did that with both of those studies. But still, it's just a matter of looking at what's the benefit of the project versus the cost, and it's real expensive for the amount of benefit you're getting.
Yes,
I
sir.
remember.
No.
Me?
Uh,
Sorry. No.
I
somebody
saw,
else. I didn't
Mr.
even
Wood.
hand it up. Yours.
And what would VDOT's role be in Louisa County looking at how we want that piece of road to be developed. And to give you an example, once you get onto 208 right there, turn to go towards the bridge, there are lots split, commercial lots split on both sides of the road.
Correct.
If, and I don't know if this is VDOT's plans or whether we need to do this in our planning and having maybe service roads on both sides of 208 right there so that you don't wind up with ingress and egress from each one of those.
Well, I think they were looking at one entrance that would serve both parcels, from what I can remember of the plan that Purcell had for both, because he owns both sides of the road there. And I've seen both those concepts, and they were looking at one one connection, I forget how far back, down 208 it was, from
Okay,
the intersection.
so that would be the developer to provide that.
Correct,
We would make sure it met what we are looking for it to do.
Correct.
Okay. Would VDOT help with that? With,
I mean, we
from
could
our
help with the
standpoint?
review, and, I mean, the biggest thing is, I'll give you another example, and this is in Louisa, 522 south of 64. We did a study, and we looked at a TIA for that corridor, and then Love's came in and wanted to punch the middle out, and now those properties between 64 and Love's, I don't know how they're gonna get access, because they were gonna have their full access at that entrance there, which they don't have connection to anymore. So their access is gonna get limited, because they don't have any connection, basically, other than possibly a right in, right out. So I don't know, we need to make sure that we, once we come up with a plan, that we move it forward, so that it's implemented
Right,
correctly.
right. Yeah, I agree.
Let me go back to something you said.
Yes,
To Mr. Woodward, because we have talked about, in that area, service roads
correct.
before. Since that's, maybe I'm looking at you too, since that's already zoned commercial, there wouldn't be a CUP that would come before the board in most cases.
Depend on what the
It
use
depends
was.
on what it was, but if it was by right, the county would have no way of,
He reviewed the site plan. I mean, we would serve as the clearinghouse, and I'm looking at Josh and Chris to nod as I'm speaking, but I mean, we would serve as the clearinghouse for the reviews, and the county would have some input in that process at that point. Would it come before the board for a formal consideration?
no, unless it was a CUP, but if it came as a CU, and I don't care if it's the, right there or the other end, you know, you've got so much traffic congestion, or so much usage, rather, and which brings congestion that, you know, anything we can do to divert people off of 208 so that you don't have, because again, if you go down that corridor, almost every piece of property that doesn't have something built on it right now is zoned commercial. It's not, so I tell people out there all the time, it's not if it's developed, it's when it's developed. Do you want 50 entrances coming onto 208? I would say that you probably don't.
We're gonna review those. The thing is it's gonna be basically, do they meet spacing? If they don't meet spacing, what are they gonna do to meet spacing or to ensure that they're gonna have a safe entrance? And we'll have to review all those entrances individually and make sure that they meet standards. If they don't meet standards, then it's gonna come back to what can they do or what's the minimum they can meet? And that's where we'll have a discussion about connecting multiple access points to one location to have shared entrances and those kind of things. If we can put the frontage roads in there, or the reverse frontage roads, that makes it easier because they have another connection that can get them to where they can have full access. And it's like Purcell's property on that that section. We're gonna basically make sure he meets the spacing standards from the intersection before he has that other intersection. So it's gonna be set back further, but if he
Subdivides it.
yeah, beforehand, then, and he sells off the lot, then that property, unless it has some sort of network, unless it's something in their plat that says that they have to connect to some sort of other road network, their only access is to 208. So that's where we sort of get hemmed in as to what we can do and what we can't do. And what-
It's a good discussion to have. It's a good discussion to have now before the whole quarter, not just that particular piece of property. It's a good discussion to have because you have our senior planners in the room right behind you, so he hears what the board's trying to talk about.
Christian is here.
But and Mr. Gillespie's here, but Mr. Gillespie's leaving us in a couple of weeks, so, but it's an awareness that needs to be,
Yes.
fully taken into consideration as it develops.
I mean, and like I said, we try to work with you all on projects as they come in to make sure we get get it as safe as we can possibly make it. I know Tommy was on that one when we talked about it on 522 South, because I think he
When,
owns some property down there.
when Earl Thompson
Yeah.
was trying, and I was going to ask if I could talk to you a little later
Okay.
about that project.
Mr. Goodwin, do you have something?
We do
Or did
I think you guys have covered most of it. I was just going to say, when we went through Ware's Crossroads, it was a little disappointing in Smart Scale because Ware's Crossroads, I think we all know anecdotally that it certainly meets standards. It exceeds standards in real life that lower projects that have gotten funded don't come anywhere near, just from a traffic and congestion, but it's very seasonal and cyclical.
Yeah.
And so I think if we are going to dust off that study work in that corridor from Lake Anna Food Line to New Bridge, I think we need to pay specific attention to that and maybe look at those counts and that data and make
mean, we
sure
can
that
look at
they're,
it, 'cause
make sure
we-
that they're reflective of real information. And the second thing that makes it, there's a tremendous amount of traffic that goes through there. Much of those folks are visitors to the lake and so not familiar. And I've a 15-year-old that just got a learner's permit in my home now, and we're having a lot of talk about people with out-of-state license plates and how you need to pay special care because just like we are when we're out of state, we're less familiar and maybe not quite as safe. But that's compounded in that area in front of the Lake Anna Food Line because traffic is moving quickly. And there's a curve and a hill coming down to it as
Yep.
well. So that coupled with out-of-town traffic, cyclical nature, I feel like we need to be really purposeful about how we evaluate those data to make sure that they are telling the story that's going on out there. So anyway, I don't mean to beat that to death.
No,
I mean, you've got curves on both sides. You've got the food line, or the, what is that?
And maybe
Dollar
the focus
General
in-
on the east, just to the east of that intersection, and that's in the transition zone where it's going from the improved section to the tying into the old section. And then once you go past the food line going east, you got the same thing. You're going back into and that's worse because it's really sharp curves and the road gets pretty narrow through there.
Well, and the other thing that you have there, and I don't want to dominate this, we only got 9 minutes left with 208 quarter, but so in June, the county opened a fire and EMS station there, which we have not really gone through a full summer of tourism, but now that station is running 85, 90 calls a month, which will pick up in the summertime. There is a little bit of a sight distance issue there, not with them coming out of the station, but not too many people do the speed limit coming down through
Yeah.
there. So I wonder, and this might be for Mr. Thornton, but he can hear it, but if maybe we can't get some signage there that says that there's that there's a fire station ahead.
That's on the way.
Is it? Perfect.
We should get us an
Thank you.
emergency signal like they got up in Charlottesville, up on road going around.
Is that on that parcel right on the east end? Because I remember when that whole property came in. Where the food line is, because that was part of Cut Along, and they sold it to the developer that built the food line.
Yeah.
So I reviewed all that stuff when it came through originally, so. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have one last thing.
Yeah. Did you have for Mr. Thornton?
It's either for Mr. Thornton, or, well, it's gonna be, I think we know the answer to it, but I'm hoping we know the answer to it. The bow tie at Zion's Crossroads. We
Okay.
did not put that into
Nope.
our smart scale. Is that effectively dead? Is it?
I'm not saying
Where's
it's
the status
effectively
of it?
dead, it's just not being looked at right now.
What do
But
we need to do to kill it?
can update that
Yeah.
at some point in time. It's still it's ranked 23rd or 28th, we'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
That intersection is still ranked really high from a crash standpoint.
Yeah, I understand that it is,
I
yes.
don't know what the status is of the development that was proposing the triple Fs coming out of there and
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
restriping. But we can look at that again as an individual intersection if we want to. I know you mentioned the Spring Creek entrance.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the roundabout back there. If we wanted to look at a signal lights, we'd have to consider a roundabout. So just make you aware of that.
Oh, no, I know that you guys consider roundabouts and you don't do the signals, and that's what
yeah.
I've always
So
advised them.
we set it up for that originally. That's why the development across the street is the way they set up, because they were we were trying to get the right of way set up so that we can make that happen. But Yeah, so that's those two things. But we can relook at Cross Creek in the
Yeah.
future, or Camp Creek.
Tie.
Camp Creek.
Camp Creek, yeah, without a bow tie.
Some kind of creek,
We
Spring
can look
Creek,
at it
Camp
The
as
creek.
separate.
The
I just don't know
creeks.
what the solution, we
Would
were-
be,
we
yeah.
were, yeah. It's got a lot of concerns, especially its close proximity to the interchange. It makes it really difficult. to
Yeah, I
Put in
understand that.
stuff that actually will function there. So, I've got a bunch more slides, but I do have the three concepts for you guys to see on the applications. But the next slides are all the PSI data. This is the PSI map, and you could see up here at 208, most of it is not blue. That
What's
blue
PSI
section,
stand for?
the blue is those are potential for safety improvement
Potential for safety
locations.
improvements.
And basically, we evaluate the crashes throughout the state, and they develop these maps every year that, they look at the last 5 years of crash data, and these are the locations that show up with the most crashes, and they're ranked by district. And the numbers that you show are the rankings. The one that's there at 22 and 33, next to the 106 is the intersection. That's 137. I don't know why it didn't get moved over to this map, so. But that's the current PSI data that we have available.
So is that, I'm looking at it in this corner, and it would be on 33 coming out. Well, actually, where are you showing 213? What's that, is that 213 crashes?
No, that's what it's ranking.
Okay.
It's ranked 213.
I got you.
That's a straight stretch of 522,
That's what
that
I
ain't
want.
straight.
Yeah.
It's not straight, so. But I just wanted to show you the data.
Chuck, you may want to say what a number one PSI is. What's a number one PSI?
The number one
No,
PS,
no, what does it mean,
oh, it just means where we have the most crashes.
a number one?
Number one is the highest crashes we have in the district.
This is the district, not the state.
Yeah, this is district.
So the highest we get is
32,
32?
which is Camp Creek.
Okay, there you go. Hey,
So that's why I said we're gonna have to look at that one again, because that's gonna be an issue, continue to be an issue.
we just closed the entrance to Lowe's and Walmart. What did it do?
Well, if we close the crossover and have them go up to the other intersections.
There you go.
The backup on Saturdays and Sundays coming out of there
Yeah.
Be
is
safe.
crazy.
You'll be fast, you want to be safe.
All right, we got 4 minutes. Let's let him finish.
Let me go, you guys have all this stuff if you want to see it. Previous applications, the submissions. Okay, here's 15 and 250 roundabout. This is the latest concept for it. It's a single lane roundabout with some slip lanes and crosswalks at the north and east side, east and west sides. The bank's on the north, on the sort of right corner. You've got the vacant lots, the gas station's gonna go in on the left side of the screen. Any questions about this one? All right, next one is 22 and 15. We've shortened it from the previous application to
silly
pull it in,
zones.
so it's not as long. And then we're showing sidewalks on all 4 quadrants.
Boswell's Tavern.
Boswell's Tavern.
Sidewalks.
So that would replace the
See if you
stoplight
could
there.
get across there.
Correct.
Right there,
And
Holly's Market.
I will say, at this location, I did pull the crashes at this location. There's like 40 crashes here. And most of them are left turn crashes, which those will be eliminated by this improvement.
And kill Hollis Market.
No, the market
Doesn't look like it.
should be fine, I think. The one property, which is, I can't. let me
It's,
show you.
looks on the cross, the vacant.
522 is cut the median,
That's in the
so
right
you
of
can
way.
make a left turn right
So,
there.
we're gonna try to
Find a way
basically
to get
preserve these 3 parcels.
They gonna kill Hollis Market.
That's
Nothing
it's
in
an
it
old
right now.
garage or something, isn't it?
Yeah,
It is, yeah.
it's vacant.
So it's
Dull
not,
motels over there.
even if you looked at setback requirements, it wouldn't meet, you couldn't put anything on that property anyway. So we're gonna try to basically,
How'd they get in the right of way? Let's go back to that one.
I have no
That
idea.
building's been there a long ass time.
That's a
long-
really old
Long
building.
before y'all had right of way. Did y'all just put right of way there and say you put right of way there?
I have
And
no
now it's
idea.
over top the man's building?
I have no idea. I mean, I know there's other,
The Highway Act was in the sixties when you took right of way? When was it?
I don't know.
Tommy, when did it take it? Sixties?
Before that.
Before you upgraded that intersection
Yeah.
years ago, that wasn't active.
When did they come in
It
and declare
wasn't active
prescriptive right of
business,
way?
but when you,
In 30s.
In the thirties. So that's prescriptive, not right of way. And you're saying you got full right of way there?
Oh, it could be prescriptive. I'm thinking I thought it was in the right of way, but I could be mistaken.
It's
Okay.
right up there
I mean,
along the road.
We're gonna show right-of-way plant lines on this map, we just haven't gotten that layer yet. Put on there. I can go back and look at the other one and see what we've got, but, yeah. We'll probably acquire that piece of property when we,
Okay, you got one more?
yeah. The last one is the 208. And this is the one, last round, we took the business, that gas station on the north side, and we put the stormwater management pond and the park and ride lot there. There used to be a parsonage on the church property, and they tore it down. So we're basically going to shift the roundabout towards that property, since the building's not there anymore, and try to limit the impacts on the other properties. And by doing that, we don't necessarily need to put the park and ride lot in, because it really didn't help us out any. And we can limit the right-of-way impacts.
So would you say that's about the same size roundabout as what's at Gum Spring now?
Gum Spring.
I would think
it's
so, but I'm
Woodsville?
not positive.
Okay. I mean, from looking at that, I have no idea.
Typically, they're in the range of 140 feet from diameter crossed, so, and that's probably what this one is.
As little as that's encroaching on the adjoining property owners, I would say it's small like that one.
It will affect the one gas station that's there. They'll have full access on the side street, but their access on 250 will be restricted to probably right-in only. So, but this is the latest concept I have for this one.
Cool.
So any questions?
No, sir. Mr. Proctor, you finished right on time.
I'm done.
Thanks, sir.
Final steps.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Thornton.
Good news, y'all don't have to hang around.
I appreciate that.
I call to order the Monday, April the 8th, 2024 meeting of the Louisa County Board of Supervisors to order. Do we have a closed session?
I just want to catch Scott.
Yes.
You don't see a paper to read.
It may take me just a minute to get it up.
The building's in the right of way. You just maybe arbitrarily drew a right of way.
Yeah,
I can't believe the building's not in the right of way and you don't own it.
Get a
It didn't get built like that.
motion to go into closed session pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A and 2.2-3712, specifically under subsections 1, 5, and 7, for discussion and consideration of prospective candidates for the employment of a public body. Section 5, discussion concerning a prospective business or industry or the expansion of an existing business or industry where no previous announcement has been made of the business or industry's interest in locating or expanding its facilities in the community. And 7, consultation with legal counsel and briefings by staff or consultants pertaining to actual or probable litigation where such consultation or briefing in an open meeting will adversely affect the negotiation or litigating posture of the public body.
So moved. Second.
been properly moved and seconded. We go into closed session. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. We're in closed session.
Man, right on